Hello and welcome back everybody. It's Complicated Relationships Reddit Stories. Hope you guys are safe and healthy. Now let's see what the story is about today. Well, today's story starts with OP meeting his ex-wife when he was in a job training program that they joined. After completing their respective courses in the program, they moved into a studio apartment and both of them were looking for jobs. After about 6 months of struggling, finally they managed to get one at a factory.
I was also delivering Chinese food for a local restaurant. She couldn't find a job, so I ended up paying and doing everything for her because she also had medical problems. 1.5 years later, I got a promotion in a different position. I'm working 12-hour shifts in the factory, but it's now a lot more money, and I'm doing better in that means. That's when we got married, and then we ended up moving to a bigger place on the other side of town. I ended up quitting the Chinese food job, but my oldest sister, we can call her OS, owned a flooring company and needed mine and my best friend's help. We call him BF. So I needed a normal routine after getting paid from the factory to get my check cashed, get the groceries, pay the bills needed to be paid, and then drive back to the house and then wait for my friend to call me, so we can hang out for a little bit before I go to sleep, and did it all again. Sometimes BF would stay at my house when we had to go to work, and he would leave his stuff here once in a while and have to come back for it. That comes into play in a minute. One morning, another friend of mine calls me after I run all my errands. We'll call him AF. He tells me to meet him at his place, and he also said that BF is going to be there as well, that he's got something important to tell me. So I drive over to his house and waited for BF to show up. BF finally came and asked me to get into his van. BF turns around and says, "I went to your house last night to get my phone charger and saw a shadow run across the blinds in your living room towards the bedroom." Me: "What?" BF: "I'm not kidding, bro. I saw a man in your house. He was in his boxers standing in your bedroom. She answered the door on her knees when I came over, and I saw this man's clothes on the floor next to the couch." My mind just filled with anger. I jumped out of the van and into my car. I rolled down my window and said, "You might want to follow me." I drove straight home, and she was sleeping. She had her sleep apnea machine on, so I pulled the hose off and woke her up. I said, "This is one of those times you better be telling me the truth. Who was here last night?" X said, "Just a friend of mine." "A man?" X: "Yes, he came over and we were watching TV." I asked, "Why is BF telling me that he was in his boxers in our bedroom?" I walked out and called BF. He was still at AF's house. Forgive me for not being able to remember all the details of the conversation. I put him on speaker and all of us were arguing over this, and there was something she told him last night that she couldn't tell me. I finished talking to BF for now. Once he was convinced that nothing bad is going to happen, he hung up.
She was crying and trying to convince OP that nothing happened.
X: "Honey, believe me, nothing happened." Me: "What is it you said to him?" X: "I told him he was just flirting with me." I didn't buy it, so I decided to sleep on it until I figure out my next move. I woke up that afternoon and acted like I believed her. I went to work that night, and on Friday to Sunday I was going to Connecticut to work for my OS again. BF couldn't go, so I stopped by his house on my way home from Connecticut. I asked him, what was it she couldn't tell me? BF: "She told me that she's been seeing him and it's a physical relationship." I could feel my heart is racing from the anger kicking in. "Okay, we're going to get her to say that on tape." BF said, "I'm not going to be doing that." I said, "You're doing this. You caught her. Now you're going to do this for me." He didn't want to, but later agreed to it. I hung out with him for a few hours, then went home. When I got there, the entire house was clean and some of the furniture was moved around. She had never done anything like this before, so I could tell she was trying to get me to believe she was innocent. I acted like I was happy about it, but didn't really care. The next day, we went to BF's house. We hung out for about an hour while she was in the other room. BF told me he had an old cell phone he could get the recording done. I told her I had to run to the store to get some drinks. I drove to the store and he got her talking about it. After about 10 minutes, I came back. He was in the kitchen holding the phone. I took it to the bathroom and listened to the recording. A lot of the recording was hard to make out, but close to the end of the recording, I heard this. BF said, "But you told me you slept with him." X said, "I was going to."
Yes, that was all OP needed to hear so he can get back at her.
This was when I called my OS and then my middle sister, MS. I let them know what was going on. OS had already been through a divorce before and began looking at the process for the paperwork. I told my boss at the factory what was happening and let them know that I may have to take a few days off to get things done. He understood because many people who work night shifts end up going through this situation. OS and I meet up outside of Boston to go to the courthouse in Cambridge to file. I explained to the clerk I want all paperwork to be sent to OS's house so X knows nothing about it. They didn't have any problem with that and told me she should be served in about a month. I convinced my soon-to-be ex-wife to sign the title of the car over to my sister so we could save some money on insurance. I paid for the car, the insurance, and everything else for it, so that car is mine. She was reluctant at first, but I convinced her it would be better for us. I also started treating her differently. She would try to talk to me, and I'd act like what she said didn't matter. We were still having physical relations, but I had no feelings for her. She still had no idea what was going to happen next. My OS got the title of the car re-registered in New Hampshire under her name and had the plates ready. BF and I were working for her in the morning on Saturday and had everything planned out. I spent the rest of the day at BF's house until about 10 o'clock, then went home. I told her that we should go to sleep because both OS and MS were coming to visit us at 9 a.m. The next morning, I woke up and nudged her to wake up. I got up and took a shower. I brushed my teeth and got dressed. I walked out of the bathroom and into the bedroom. She was still sitting in the bed. X asked, "Why are your sisters coming over so early?" I said, "Oh, they're coming to help me."
At that time, OP started pulling his clothes out of the closet and putting them in bins and suitcases.
X asked, "What are you doing?" I said, "What does it look like? I'm leaving you." X asked, "What? Why?" Me, "Here's why." I reach in my jacket pocket and pull out the old cell phone and play back the recording for her. She hears the conversation and is shocked. X asked, "What was that?" I said, "You know what that was. You made me a promise and you broke it. Now it's over. I already filed for divorce and they're coming to serve you today." X said, "My mom told me you might do something like that." I said, "Maybe next time you'll listen to her." X said, "So? What about the physical relations we had all this time?" Me, "What about it?" X said, "You used me." I replied, "Oh, just like you used me for the last 4 years." She gets up and grabs the house phone and calls her mother. She starts crying into the phone talking to her. Meanwhile, I pull out my cell phone and start calling the landlord to let him know that I paid 3 months of our 6-month lease and he can go after her for the rest. Then I call the electric company and tell them to shut off the power at the address tomorrow. The cable, gas, and auto insurance were all in her name. Once the car was re-registered in New Hampshire, my sister put it on her insurance and I paid her. I then grabbed the phone from her and explained to her mom that I was done with your daughter.
Well, about that time, OP went back into the bedroom and found her wedding band and engagement ring on the dresser.
I asked, "You're not keeping your engagement ring?" X said, "Why would I? You're leaving me." Then I said, "Good, I can get a few bucks on it at the pawn shop." Around that time, my sisters arrive with a local police officer. The officer watches as we pack up all my stuff into OS's truck and I switch the plates for my car. We pack both vehicles up while OS and MS get their say in the matter. After we got everything packed in the vehicles, I asked my sisters to take pictures of her and the apartment as evidence to say that I didn't hurt her or wrecked the house. She is that kind of person who would cry wolf for attention. So, finally I said, "We have all the photos of you and the apartment, so you can't claim that I hurt you. Oh, and your license plates are in the kitchen, and you can keep the bed because I'm going to get a new one." X asked, "What am I going to do with it?" Then my sister said, "Why don't you give it to your stupid boyfriend?" I laughed and said, "That's a good idea." So, I moved out and over to BF's house until I could afford another place of my own, which only took me about 3 months.
Well, finally, as for OP, he took it as a lesson not rush into anything unless you are 100% sure it's worth it. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the story as much as I did recording it for you. So, what do you think of the story? Please let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Please like and share the story if you enjoyed it. Also, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you will be notified when we upload the next video. Take care.